Okay then, hi everyone. Today we're going to be having a look at the word bearers. Now, as you can see, I don't really have a word bearers army. This is just a few things I've picked up on eBay over the years. I do have a word bearers army that I'm working on, but it's pretty much bottom of the pile, so it's not anywhere near ready to put out on this table yet, but that's okay. Word bearers, generally speaking, don't get treated too well. I'd say they're bottom of the pile when it comes to chaos. They never really get given good stuff that much. I think they tend to get pretty neglected. I still think that's the case now, but they've got some okay stuff, so we'll have a look. First up, they've got the crappy, the terrible, lazy, pathetic, crappy Legion trait, where they just get to reroll morale tests. Now, in fairness, as of in 8th edition, that was kind of just an insult because it was just the rule that all Marines get, but that's their entire traitor Legion trait. It was pathetic, a joke. In 9th edition, Marines have lost that now. Now I think their And Thou Shalt Know No Fear is that they just don't take modifiers to their combat attrition tests, so they just fail on 1s instead of 1s and 2s or anything. So as of 9th edition, this is better, you could say, because it's at least unique now, getting to reroll your morale tests, but it's still pretty rubbish as far as Lunar Legion traits go. You're probably not going to use it that often. It's a shame. Hopefully we get something different with the new codex. Can't be any worse. I shouldn't say that, it could be worse, especially for Chaos. Anyway, we'll have a quick look at the Warlord trait. So the Voice of Lorgar, add 3 inches to the range of this Warlord's aura abilities. This was better in 8th edition when because it's really for a Dark Apostle, it was better when it would give the Dark Apostle a 9-inch aura for his reroll hit rolls, sort of hatred type bubble that he used to have. But now that the prayers have changed and he doesn't have that aura effect anymore and it's just prayers, it's not, I don't think it's quite as useful as it used to be. But it's still going to give you a 9-inch range for your reroll ones to hit. And actually, I think that Dark Apostles might still have a... No, see, they've got the 6-inch rerolls, but it's not an aura. It's just, it doesn't say it's an aura, so it wouldn't work. So yeah, it's not as good as it used to be, this trait. It's okay though. If you really want a 9-inch aura for your reroll ones to hit, probably not. Exalted Possession, this is my favourite one. It's the one I would probably take if I did play Word Bearers. It tends to be the one that I factor into my lists when I start thinking about what army I could do. The Warlord gains the Possessed keyword and the Demon keyword if they don't already have it. And they get +1 strength and attacks and +1 movement. So if you gave this to a Demon Prince, which I think that you can, although I feel like I remember there was an FAQ saying that you can't give them this, but I'm pretty sure you can. +1 strength and attacks and Demon is always good. +1 strength and attacks and movement with the Possessed keyword and the Demon keyword on any character, especially a Chaos Lord or a Dark Apostle. That's really great. Not only is obviously +1 strength and attacks really great for just making your Dark Apostle or Chaos Lord even better, but the Possessed keyword allows you to use certain stratagems, so you're making your Warlord is now able to be buffed by certain stratagems and things that we'll get to later. So that's good. Oh, and of course the Demon keyword too. He'd be affected by if you had the Malefica. Is it the Malefica discipline? The one we've got the Master of Possession. His power list, they affect demons, and so would anything else. Potentially if he was in range of auras from a herald or anything. It's just a really good one to make sure that you have a lot of potential synergy in your army. Demonic Whispers, if your army is battle forged, roll 1d3 before the battle begins. You gain a number of additional command points equal to the result. Once per battle, if this Warlord is on the battlefield, you can re-roll a single hit roll, wound roll, damage roll or saving throw. Okay, so the bottom bit's rubbish. You get 1 re-roll once per game. I guess it could be important, but you're most likely going to forget it. D3 command points at the start of the game, though, that is nice. That is a nice one. I don't think I would take this personally, but if you had a lot of stratagems you wanted to use, maybe. For me, this is more of a secondary stratagem. Warlord trait, it's like something I'd take if I had the ability to, pay a command point for another Warlord and then I could get D3 back. It's that sort of thing that I do, but I don't think I would take it just as the single Warlord. Then Master of the Union. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of models in friendly word bearers demon units while they're within 6 inches of this warlord. This is good. This would essentially give your possessed +1 attack if you're running possessed. Any units within 6 inches would get +1 attack. It's pretty good. There are lists where you would probably run a lot of possessed. My own word bearers army will have a lot of possessed in it. Whether you want to try to exploit them, with the demon bomb type stuff, or you're just running them in more reasonable sized units because you want possessed as the theme. Definitely a good one, +1 attack in 6 inches. It's really good. Personally, I would still go for Exalted Possession on my Warlord, but that's definitely a good contender. Diabolist. When this Warlord would lose a wound, roll 1d6, adding 3 to the result if the wound was because of a mortal wound, and on a 6+, it's not lost. So 6+, feel no pain, basically, increased to a 6+, 5+, 4+, 3+, feel no pain against mortal wounds. It's pretty nice, but I don't think you're going to take it. You're not going to really bother that much with it. And Sacrilegious Regeneration, add 1 to the Warlord's wound characteristic, and at the start of the turn, he gains d3 lost wounds. That is actually pretty nice. Whether it's on, I think you get the most out of it obviously on a Demon Prince, you'd get 9 wounds, and healing d3 wounds per turn on a Demon Prince, that is very nice. Could even be quite good on a normal character. I'd like to take it. I think it's a powerful one, but compared to either Exalted Possession or Master of the Union, I feel like I would go for those in my own games, especially Exalted Possession. But +1 wound and healing d3 at the start of your turn, that is nice. Even though I know I've complained about that sort of ability in other videos, because like I've said, if you don't lose wounds, your Warlord trait's not doing anything, and there's a good chance if your Warlord is something like a Dark Apostle, he's probably not going to be stuck in the fighting, he's probably going to be holding back, giving buffs, so it might be wasted on him. And if you're just dead anyway, if you were just killed outright, then again you won't be benefiting from it at all. So it's dubious for me, but it's not bad. So on to the stratagems. You've got Dark Pact. This is the one from the Codex. It's a summoning based stratagem, unfortunately, so for me I consider it pretty worthless. I think summoning is worthless. It's a trash mechanic. There's probably competitive players out there who think, oh, what are you talking about? But for me, I've never seen any point in it. Use the stratagem at the end of your movement phase when a Warlord character, Word Bearer's character, model from your army attempts to summon a unit of demons using demonic ritual. While making the summoning roll for that attempt, you can re-roll the dice, and this character will not suffer any mortal wounds for rolling any doubles or triples. So it is really good. If you are summoning, it's a very good one, especially if you're going to be summoning something huge. If you were trying to get this character to summon a Demon Lord, like Angrath or Scabiathrax, it'll be perfect. One thing I'm going to actually say now before I get to the rest of this is I love how thematic, I might not like it in terms of the gameplay, but in terms of how thematic these abilities are, I really love it. Because again, if I was playing Word Bearers, I wouldn't take them as a competitive army. I'd have things like this, big ritual site. I'd have this guy doing some ritual, trying to summon a giant demon, a bloodthirster or something. Having an ability like this, where he's essentially immune from the negative effects and gets to reroll fails, it's brilliant. It makes it seem like he's a master demon summoner, which is what Word Bearers are. They're master demon summoners. They're probably the best at what they do. The same as the Iron Warriors are the most knowledgeable about the Technovirus, and the Alpha Legion are the best at sneaking. The Word Bearers are the masters of summoning and rituals and binding and that sort of thing. So it's very thematic, and it would certainly be a cool thing to throw down if you were playing a game where you were trying to make summoning a focus point for that game, just because of the theme. So it's okay. Malevolent Covenant. This one I really like. This is really good. This is not just thematic. This is really good for the game. Very competitive, very powerful. I've never got to use it, but I would be excited to use it. It's 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your psychic phase after a Word Bearer's Psyker fails the psychic test. The power is automatically manifested at the minimum required warp charge and can't be resisted by Deny the Witch. So even though it only goes off on the minimum roll, which means it doesn't cost it doesn't make you miscast or anything. it can't be denied. So not only did you fail your test and then automatically had it succeed because you used the stratagem, but it can't be denied either. It's insane. You do take 1 mortal wound after using it, but this is incredible. You'd almost cast it hoping to fail if it was a really important power, like maybe Death Hex, trying to roll your 8+ for the Death Hex. You know, you'd be almost hoping that you failed, just so that there was no chance of somebody denying it, and you could use this. Apostle of the Dark Council. This basically lets your Dark Apostle take another prayer. Normally they only get the 1 prayer they start with and 1 additional prayer from the book, and even then they have to choose which one of those they cast. This one, they know an additional prayer and they can cast, well, you know, chant an additional prayer. So you would know 3 prayers for the game, the one you start with and 2 of your choice, and you'd be able to cast 2 per turn. This is great, this is epic. 1 command point, you use it every game. You know, there's no reason why not. You would use it every game. It's brilliant, it's so good. I am salty that it's locked to word bearers. This is something I could go on a much bigger rant about in probably another video, the way that, you know, whenever Chaos gets something, it's locked almost to the point of uselessness to one specific faction, whereas when Marines get something, they can all use it. You know, they have this stratagem, but when they have this stratagem for the Marines, in this same book actually, it's across the board, anybody can use it. From Imperial Fists to Ultramarines to White Scars, they can all use this, but of course Chaos gets it, it's locked into word bearers. That's how it is, unfortunately. Probably never going to change, something I am salty about, but you know, we'll move on. It's good for the word bearers. If you're playing word bearers, it's good. It's just a shame you can't use it as a general Chaos thing. Now, Curse Despoilers is 2 command points. You use this stratagem after deployment, but before the first battle round begins. If a word bearer's unit from your army is on the battlefield, select 1 terrain feature other than a fortification, and units entirely on or within that terrain feature do not gain cover to their saving throws. So it's 2 command points to basically look at the battlefield before the game begins and see there's an enemy unit in a building or a forest or something. They're getting +1 armor save currently because they're deployed there. I'm going to just pay 2 CP and take it away. You know, it's okay. I feel like it's a nice thing to have in the bag. If you probably wouldn't use this too often because it's situational. But if your opponent did deploy some devastators or something, in a position where they were counting on getting the +1 cover, so they'd have their their 2+, 2+, saves and that sort of thing. You might want to use it just to screw them. Personally, I would probably rather keep my 2 command points than use it on this, but it's definitely okay to have in the bag. It would be nicer if it said that they lost the benefits of cover, so that if it was dense cover, they would also lose the -1 hit as well. Of course, as we know, these books were written with 9th edition in mind. So, that was obviously an intentional choice to not have them ignore the -1 to hit as well as the +1 cover. Because, of course, it's not like these books were written for 8th edition or anything. It's, they were written with 9th edition in mind, so that was clearly intentional. Revered Hosts. Use the stratagem in the fight phase when a word bearer's possessed unit or word bearer's greater possessed unit from your army is chosen to fight with. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the damage characteristic of melee weapons that unit is equipped with. So this is great because obviously initially you just got possessed. They're damage 1. They're pretty good. I think they're AP -2, decent strength, AP -2. You can currently, within the normal Chaos Space Marines Codex, you can still, run them 20 strong if you want to, do all the disgusting Demon Bomb. You can get +1 to wound for veterans, +1 to wound for Dark Apostle, +1 to wound for, +1 to wound from the Nurgle Psychic Power. You can get +1 strength and attack from Vigilus, although that's not legal in tournaments anymore. There's a ton of stuff you can do to get possessed, and making them damage 2 instead of damage 1 is huge. I'm not planning to, do the big thing, big bombs in my army. I just want sort of units of 10 and some nice fancy rhinos, that sort of thing. Making them damage 2, it's great, especially in a new Marine meta. Brilliant. Damage 2 on a whole squad for 1 command point. I mean, you can't argue 1 command point to make an entire squad of possessed. Strength 5, basic, strength 5, AP -2, damage 2. Brilliant. They're going to chew through anything. The reason I like this, though, and the way I'd use this is actually on my character, and I would use this in conjunction with the Exalted Possession Warlord trait, and I'd have a Dark Apostle or maybe a Chaos Lord with either the Black Mace or the Cursed Crozius. The Black Mace is damage 2, so if he had this, you could make it damage 3, and if you had the Cursed Crozius, you'd make it damage 4, because that's damage 3 base. Now, I have a bit of a build for the Dark Apostle, which I might get to in a minute, or do a separate video on. But you can really make him absolutely crazy if you stack stuff up properly. But we'll move on. I'll do it in another video. So that, you know, but yeah, you can give it +1 damage to a whole squad, or you can give it +1 damage to a character. I think you could do this to a Demon Prince, maybe make his Demonic Talons damage 3, or make his Sword or his Axe damage 4. It's a really good stratagem for 1 command point. It's brilliant. Hexagrammatic Ward. 1 command point, use this stratagem in any phase after making a saving throw for a word bearer's character from your army. Treat the result of that saving throw as a 6, and each word bearer's character model can only use this stratagem once. Now this is really cool. It's a situational one, you know, you're not going to maybe go into battle planning on using it. Really situational, but you know, for 1 command point, to have this trick in the bag, to just pop out there if you really need to make a 6, if you've just taken, you know, either the last wound that's going to chip off your last wound and kill you, or you've taken a real super hit from something, you know, that's going to immediately kill you outright because it's damage 4 or something, damage 5, whatever. And you know, then it's brilliant. And what I like about this is it's after you fell, you haven't got to, you know, use it before you make the roll. You just say, oh, I failed and I'm going to die now. Count it as a 6 for 1 command point. It's brilliant. I love the theme of it, that, you know, these guys, these Dark Apostles, before they go into battle, they've, you know, warded their armor with these magic sigils, and, you know, when they need it, they'll just sort of glow and, I guess, force-filled block a blow or something. It's great. It's really cool. Pretty thematic, you know, could be very annoying. And then Vengeance for Monarchia. This is the kind of thing we've encountered in other videos, where it's basically 1 command point. If the word bearers are fighting an Ultramarines unit, they can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls because they're angry about Monarchia. You know, if you've read, I think it's the first, it's not the first heretic, is it? I think it's Betrayer happens in. Anyway, they, you know, they hate the Ultramarines in the same way that the, you know, Iron Warriors hate the Imperial Fist and all that sort of thing. So, you know, they're okay stratagems, they're not great. I feel like these stratagems are more geared towards giving you, you know, some thematic characters. You can have a good, you know, strong Dark Apostle. You can have a good, strong Sorcerer. You can have, you know, you can buff your Possessed a little bit. Yeah, you know, they're not things that are going to really affect the whole army as a whole. Like if you look at the, you know, the Alpha Legion stratagems, for example, you know, those are just mostly purely based on making the entire army feel as Alpha Legion as possible and play in this sneaky way. This is much more, I think, character based, but it's still good. It's still going to give you a bit of flavour at least. And then the artifacts, you've got the Crown of the Blasphemer, which improves your invulnerable save by 1 to a maximum of 3+, and subtracts 1 from the leadership of enemy models within 6 inches. Don't care about that. +1 invulnerable save, always great. Now it's going to make your 4+ ward save on your Chaos Lord or Dark Apostle a 3+. Absolutely brilliant. I would love to have a Dark Apostle with a 3+ invulnerable save. Unfortunately, it would mean that you wouldn't be taking you know, a relic weapon like the Cursed Crozius or the Black Mace, but you know, the normal Crozius is good enough. I think it's +1 or 2 strength, AP -2, damage 2, pretty good as it is, you know. So yeah, it's a good one. Or you can give it to a Demon Prince. I would probably give it to a Demon Prince, so you've got a nice solid 4+ invulnerable save. That would be a good idea. And they already have good weapons, you know, they don't need relics to be good, so I'd probably go for that. Baleful Icon, charge roll is made for a charge declared against a friendly word bearers unit within 6 inches of a model with this relic. Subtract 2 from the result. Never really a fan of these types of things, but you know, if you're in a situation where you had a setup kind of like this, you've got your Dark Apostle on his altar and some troops around, you've got enemies coming towards you, some angry Black Templars, you know, -1 charge roll, sorry, -2 charge roll from, you know, from any rolls they make. against units within 6 inches is pretty good. You know, 6 inches could affect several units. -2 is pretty harsh. You know, they may already be -2 because they're going over terrain or something. It's okay, but I don't think anyone's ever going to take it compared to the other relics you've got access to. The Book of the Reviler. Model that is not a demon only, so you can't give it to a demon prince or a greater possessed or anything. Before the battle, it can read from the Book of the Reviler, and if it does, it randomly generates 2 Chaos Boons, rerolling Spawndom and Demonhood. Now this is pretty cool. You know, there's some good stuff on that Eye of the Gods table. It's not Eye of the Gods table anymore, as it was at Chaos Boon table. There's some good stuff on there. You can get +1 wound, +1 strength, that sort of thing, +1 save. You know, it's good. Would I take it as a relic? For me, this is one of those things where I kind of wish it was a secondary relic, like how Marines have relics and then special issue stuff. This to me is more special issue than full-on relic. I'd like to take it. Getting 2-3 rolls on that table would be nice, but am I going to take it over the Cursed Crozius or something? I don't think so. Now the Malefic Tome, this is a solid relic, and this is one of my favourite things. It's why I said earlier this book allows you to essentially make a really boss Dark Apostle, a really boss Sorcerer, and maybe a powerful Lord of Demon Prince, but it's a Psychic model only. The model with the relic knows 1 additional psychic power from their chosen discipline, and when a psychic test is taken, add 1 to the total. So you can take, now this would be good for a sorcerer. Obviously you could have a sorcerer that knows you know, Prescience, Death Hex, and Diabolic Strength. That would be good. I would probably use this on a Master of Possession so that I could make sure he knows Cursed Earth and Demonic Power or Infernal Power, and you got one of the other ones, maybe the one that helps you, I think, is Incursion, the one that helps you summon, or maybe Sacrifice, or, you know, it's good. It's really good. And you get +1 to cast them too, which is amazing. You can always use Malevolent Covenant to reroll. You know, to me, between this and Malevolent Covenant, it really allows you to make somebody who feels like a really powerful, dangerous sorcerer, somebody who really, you know, has been around a long time, knows what they're doing, summoning demons. Really cool. The Ashen Axe is a chain axe, so 1 point relic, +1 strength, AP -2, damage D3. So already, just for that, it's a really good replacement for a chain axe. And enemy units of this relic can't fall back unless they're vehicle or titanic or have a minimum move characteristic. This is awesome. This is brilliant. It's, you know, it's a chain axe. It's 1 command point. You can give it to a basic Chaos Lord or anything. 1 point, +1 strength, AP -2, damage D3, and you can't fall back. You know, that's pretty massive. That's pretty huge. You know, I gushed over that kind of ability when we talked about the Night Lords, and now they've got it. You know, I'd probably take this. I don't know every game because there's a few other relics, but you know, being able to stop somebody from falling back from you, and it's a guaranteed. You know, it's not like a roll or anything on a 2+. It's guaranteed they can't fall back if they're within an inch. Really good. If I was running a more sort of combat-based army and I had something like a Chaos Lord with a chain axe with a bunch of possessed, and I wanted to make sure people couldn't fall back from those possessed, that's really, really strong. And then lastly, the Epistle of Lorgar, priest model, so a Dark Apostle. When a model with this relic chants a prayer, you can re-roll the dice. And you add 1 to leadership for friendly word bearers units within 6, don't care about that. But, you know, re-rolling dice, that's really great. Again, Marines have basically the same thing, but I think it's a Warlord trait. That's brilliant. You know, if you can either do them on a 3+, or you can do them on a 2+ if you've got those Dark Apostle, Dark Disciple guys. This is more useful now than it was in 8th edition, because in 9th edition you can't command re-roll prayers. So if you do roll that 1 or 2 or 1 when you're going for your prayers, you can't use a CP reroll anymore. So this is much more useful. Would I take it? You know, for me, probably not. I'd tend to go for a nice weapon or something, but I definitely think it is a really useful one. It's a really solid, especially if you've gone for the Apostle of the Dark Council, so he's trying to kick off 2 per turn. You know, if you're running a Dark Apostle with, you know, some possessed and he's getting up there and he's got 2 powers you want to get off per turn, Maybe you don't have the Dark Disciples because he was in a transport and now he's out. He didn't want to waste the space. Maybe they were killed. I don't know, but you know, being able to just re-roll 2 tests per turn, because you're going to fail at least 1 probably every turn. You know, you're not going to make 2, 3 pluses unless you're really lucky. You're probably going to fail 1 at least out of the 2. You might even fail both. Getting the re-rolls I think is really useful. Now we're going to take a quick look at the relic in here. It's called the Cursed Crozius, and I think that it's great. It's word bearers only. It replaces either a Power Maul or a Cursed Crozius. What are they called? Whatever the normal Dark Apostles have. They're not Cursed Croziuses, they're something else. But anyway, it's +2 strength, AP -2, damage 3, and you can re-roll failed wound rolls when targeting an Imperium unit. So that of course covers Admech, Guards, Sisters of Battle, everything. This is brilliant. I think it would make him strength 6, AP -2, damage 3. Like I said, I'd probably go for the Exalted Possession Warlord trait, so he'd be strength 7, AP -2, damage 4. That's pretty crazy for me. And re-rolling wounds, you know, if you've already maybe casted the re-roll hit rolls ability, and then he's getting re-roll wounds as well, he'll have Death to the False Emperor for extra attacks on 6s. You know, this is really crazy. This is really good. It's a great relic. And then we'll just pop over into Vigilus Ablaze here, because there's a couple of things that are, you know, really I think made for the word bearers. You've got Cult of the Damned. This affects Dark Apostles, Dark Disciples, and Chaos Cultists. The Warlord trait is that you can reroll charge rolls for friendly Cult of the Damned units while they're within 6 inches of your Warlord. So, you know, if you had a big cultist horde running forwards, they get to reroll charges. You've got the Inferno Tome, which is range 8, assault d6, strength 5, AP -1, damage 3, auto hit. So it's essentially an assault heavy flamer that has d3 damage. Pretty good actually, you know, considering it's basically free. It doesn't cost, you know, you don't even have to buy a ranged weapon because it's literally the book that the guy's holding. It's pretty cool. I wouldn't go for it personally probably, but it's okay. Ritual Offerings. Use this stratagem when an enemy model is destroyed by an attack made by a Cult of the Damned Chaos Cultist unit. In the fight phase, that Chaos Cultist unit automatically passes morale tests for the rest of the battle, so this actually is pretty good because it's not an enemy unit. All you need to do is kill 1 enemy model and that Chaos Cultist unit is fearless. You know, if you've already, you know, this basically the Cult of the Damned is the idea of having a Dark Apostle and a big horde of cultists, you know, many units, multiple units of 30, that sort of thing. You know, you get to reroll charges to get in there. Let's say they're cultists of Khorne, so they've got, I think, 3 attacks each with the brutal hand weapon and auto pistol. They've got 1 attack each. They get +1 attack for the brutal hand weapon, and I think +1 attack for being Khorne, unless they took that away. They might have took that away, I'm not sure. But anyway, all you got to do is kill 1 model and you're fearless. So regardless of the casualties that you take, you're going to stay there. You're probably going to kill 1 model, even if you're fighting Space Marines or something. You know, out of all the attacks combined, you're probably always going to kill at least 1 model and just stay there swamping them, and it's pretty annoying. And then Chorus of the True Faith, 1 command point. Use the stratagem when a Cult of the Damned Dark Apostle from your army chants a prayer. If there are any friendly Cult of the Damned cultist units within 6 inches, add 1 to the dice to see if the prayer is heard. So this, I don't really see the point in this personally. I don't see the point in it at all. You know, you've already got Dark Disciples that give you +1 to cast, so you're already doing it from 3s to 2s. You know, you can't +1 again and make it go off on a 1+ automatically. So the only reason I see to use this is if you don't have Dark Disciples or they were killed earlier in battle. I feel like it's unlikely they'd be killed earlier in battle. I think they count as characters with you, so most likely they're going to be fairly safe. They might not though, I'm not sure entirely. And in case of, you know, just not wanting to buy, you know, pay, it's only 10 points to buy them, they're 5 points each. You know, 10 points to buy them versus spending 1 command point to use this. You know, I think obviously you're going to just buy Dark Disciples, so I don't think it's hugely useful. I don't really see the point, but, you know, I guess it's there if you did need it. And then lastly, Demon Kid Ritualist. This is for Dark Apostles, Dark Disciples. Masters of Possession, Possessed and Greater Possessed units. The Warlord trait, the Shepherd of the True Faith. I love the name. I would probably take this just on principle. I would call him the Shepherd of the True Faith just anyway, you know, even if I wasn't using this. Each time you roll an unmodified winged roll of 6 for an attack made with a melee weapon by a friendly Demonkins Ritualist unit, within 6 inches of your Warlord, the attack inflicts 1 mortal wound. So that's pretty great. Every unit within 6, you know, you might have one big unit, you might have multiple units of 10 or so. Mortal wounds on 6s for a whole... They've got 4 attacks each, I think. I mean, the Possessed, at least in this... Well, that's for the Death Guard. The Possessed to this point have, I believe, D3 attacks on their profile, +1 for Hateful Assault. You've got potential +1 for the Warlord trait in the Faith and Fury book within 6 inches. So that's, you know, D3 +2. You can potentially get it to be D3 +3 with a Stratagem. That'll get to in a minute, which gives them +1 strength and attack. So there's a lot of attacks coming out of Possessed potentially. You can cast Blaze of Putrefaction on them, or Malefic Touch or something from the Chaos Demons Codex. If you had an allied detachment of Chaos Demons, that also gives you mortal wounds on 6s. So, you know, you potentially be doing 2 mortal wounds for each roll of a 6 if you had that stacked on them as well. So it's great. The Burning Rod, this is essentially the Master of Possession's staff. It's +3 strength, AP -1, damage D3, and at the end of each fight phase you can pick a unit within 1 inches of the bearer and they suffer 1 mortal wound. I think that's rubbish. I'd never bother taking this. I'm pretty sure the normal force stave is +3 strength, AP -1, damage D3, so there's no change to the stat line, and all it's doing is at the end of the fight phase you pick a unit within 1 inches and they suffer 1 mortal wound. That's trash. You're not going to spend a relic on that. Now, Vessels of the Neverborn, 1 command point. You pick a Demonkin Ritualist Demon unit from your army that is within 6 inches of a friendly Demonkin Ritualist Master of Possession. Add +1 strength and attacks to the models of that unit until the end of the phase. So this is incredible, absolutely brilliant. If you had a unit of Possessed, you know, like I was just saying, they have D3 +1 attacks for Hateful Assault, D3 +2 maybe if you had the Warlord trait, and if you have this, it's, you know, it would be D3 +3 attacks at strength 6, AP -2, damage 1, damage 2 if you used the stratagem from Faith and Fury. Absolutely incredible. You know, you can get any number of rerolls on this. You can use veterans to get them +1 to wound. Absolutely brutal if you were to use this. It's a really good one. And then Souls of the Devoted. Use this stratagem at the start of your movement phase. Pick a Demonkin Ritualist Possessed unit and a friendly Demonkin Ritualist character unit that is within 6 inches of it, and roll a D3. The Possessed take that many mortal wounds, and the character regains that many mortal wounds. So you can essentially take D3 wounds from your Possessed and put D3 wounds back onto a character. Possessed have 2 wounds each, so, you know, you'd lose maybe 1. You wouldn't lose 2, because, you know, unless you already had 1 down to wound, you wouldn't lose 2, you'd lose 1 at most and put another one down to a wound to get D3 wounds back on a character. You know, it's okay. I don't really think I would use this, to be honest. Maybe if I had a Demon Prince nearby, but I'm not sure. It depends how important to you character healing is. To me, I can normally do without it. You know, I don't feel like it comes up that often. But it's okay, you know. So, having said that, Word Bearers, I think, are not great. They are, I think, still the weakest of the Traitor Legions. They still have, I think, the least that makes them unique or coherent as an army, especially if you don't want to use Possessed. If you don't want to use Possessed, you just don't have anything. You know, that's really, there's nothing that affects basic Marines, basic troops, Terminators, you know, that makes them any different to any other Chaos Space Marines, aside from the getting to reroll their morale tests. There's nothing that really enhances your basic army. You know, nothing. There's no stratagems that affect vehicles. There's no special rules or stratagems that just affect normal troops. Unless you're looking to buff some characters, make some really epic Dark Apostles, Sorcerers, Lords, that sort of thing. And unless you're looking to really buff some Possessed units up, there's really nothing, or summon some demons, you know, that's enhanced with this as well. But, you know, generally speaking, across the board, there's really nothing in this book that helps you as an army. And I think that's a shame. I think that's a shame, and that's why ultimately I think they're the weakest and the least best off of the traitor legions, because everybody else within Faith and Fury, there's plenty of stuff in that book that affects army wide. You know, the Iron Warriors, they have things that affect obliterators, but it's not only things that affect obliterators. You can use the stuff in their area to affect, you know, everything. From Chaos Space Marines to vehicles, you know, there's something for everybody, and that's the same for most of the legions, if not all the rest of them. So Wordbearers, it's a bit sucky in my opinion, but as long as you're, I think, keeping in mind thematic games rather than competitive games, and you're more looking at like, how can I make a really narrative game and have things that help me make a narrative game. I want my Dark Apostle to be a big important demon summoner. I want my sorcerer to be the master of the arcane. You know, if you're going for that mentality, I want to summon demons, even though it's not a great mechanic and there's no real point to. If you just want to summon demons, then, you know, it's fine. But you know, yeah, I don't think that there's something you should hop on if you're just looking to win games, you know. But anyway, you know, that's it. I'd give them a kind of lukewarm to bad rating personally, out of, you know, a potentially positive rating. But you shouldn't just play things because they're powerful. You know, you should play Wordbearers because you want to play Wordbearers, and I think a lot of people do. And that's fine, you know, that's okay. Hopefully we'll get something a bit better in the next Codex. Hopefully at least the Legion trait would be better, hopefully. You know, but we'll just have to see. So that's it for now. Thank you, and I hope I'll see you in another State of the Legion video.